Right, so let's unpack this a little bit further. We are joined by Operation Dudula's organizational leader, Zandile Dabula, of course, having announced that the organization will launch a campaign at the end of December 2025 as it continues into the first week of January 2026. And this campaign is aimed at preventing foreign children, particularly those without legal documentation, from enrolling in public schools in South Africa. Of course, Equal Education and Equal Education Law Centre are pushing back, calling the proposed campaign a violation of South Africa's constitution and a precedent-setting High Court ruling. But let's speak now to Dabula, who joins us this evening. Zandile, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been quite the day for you. We had our reporter following you in some of the work that you're doing, going into the various schools. Talk to me about how many you've reached and what the conversations sound like when you start to speak to the leadership of these schools around what you want them to do, which is prioritize South African children.
Good evening, Naledi, and good evening to our viewers at home. Thank you so much for having us. It's been a long day indeed. I just need us to clear the part, where it says that we are campaigning. This is our campaigning time. We've been doing these operations for the past 2 years. It's got nothing to do with campaigning for the elections, but like you correctly said, that we're putting South African kids first more than anything. I'm glad that we even decided on, having a build-up program before we get to, January 2026, because this gave us a platform to actually engage with the principals of the schools to also get an insight of what's happening. We've been to 10 schools today, and, we've been, warmly welcomed, and we engaged with the principals. And, yes, at the first school, there was a bit of a resistance because, of cameras and all that. So they are mandated not to be talking to a media. But, as the day went by, we managed to talk to deputies and some of the principals. And yes, there is an issue. And, these principals are admitting that, yes, they do have undocumented foreign children that are at their schools, because there's a law that says that they need to be given, 3 months so that they can make sure that they bring proper documents to the school. But the parents are not doing that. And, in some schools, you have a principal that, told us that she's sitting with 600 undocumented children, which 50% of those are of South Africans and 50% are foreigners. And, the departments are not doing anything. They're not helping. They've been left to see how to go about with even the budget, because when the child is not documented, then there's no allocation of budget for that particular child. So, educators are facing a challenge because they're, you're looking at the number of children that are in classrooms. Between 50 to 60 in just one class. Now, you will not be able to even focus on the child that needs that special attention. So these are some of the challenges, but more than anything, they know that they need to make sure that they admit documented children, but the contradiction is within the department and, these new laws that they're bringing, because the law states that if you are admitting a child of a foreigner, then you need to make sure that they have study visas, they have, birth registrations, they are, properly documented into the country, and that, they have proper proof of residence or permanent residence as proof. But all of that is not happening. But because, it's not up to them, it's up to the department, they would just, take and admit children whether they're documented or not. But, what I've been cautioning, I think I spoke to Mr. Mabona, who is the spokesperson today, that we must also, take in cognizance that we're looking at children being trafficked here, because nothing is linking the child to the parent. And if you're bringing a child that's undocumented, how do you prove that the child you're bringing to the school is really your child? Yeah. And how will the school even know the age? Because you're just bringing a child with no documents.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Zandile.
The child is 5 years old.
Okay, I'm hearing all the points. I just need to maximize on time here because we don't have a lot. Uzola spoke to an SGB chairperson at one of the schools that you were able to speak to, and this person speaking about how they feel that they, as schools themselves, are between a rock and a hard place, because when Steve Mabona, the department, comes to speak to that SGB, they're going to say, you will abide by the Bella Act that says that no child is going to be denied an education because of a lack of documentation. So when you, as Dudula, then go into the school, what do you suggest they do? Because it feels like while this is a challenge of capacity, that from a legislative point of view, there's very little that these schools can do. So what do you put on the table as an option for them?
So, you know, the fight here is definitely with the department, because what we're saying to them is that we want our South African kids to be prioritized. We don't want to be sitting in similar situations like the previous years where we have South African kids who are without desks and chairs, yet we have foreign children who, you know, are privileged to have those. Now, what needs to happen here is on the basis of having South African children documented, we are going to take it upon ourselves to make sure that we do follow up with the relevant departments. Now, that will be the Department of Basic Education and the Department of Home Affairs, because they need to help those South African kids. Now, when it comes to foreign national kids, they need, you know, there's nothing wrong with them going to apply in the schools, in private schools, and pay for the services, because that's what needs to happen. If they have a study visa, then they need to also be able to pay for their education. I mean, their parents are working, their parents are entrepreneurs. You could hear on social media platforms how they'll be, you know, mocking at us, telling us that we are a lazy nation. They are here to work and they are working. So, you know, what we're suggesting to the department is that they must just make sure that all kids, foreign nationals, they need to go and be placed in private facilities, and they must pay, because here in these public facilities, it needs to be reserved for South Africans. And yes, if they are properly documented with all the requirements, which I'm talking about, your study visas and all that, then yes, but they will be last on queues and not be prioritized. So we're going to start with South African kids first, and when there is, you know, space, then we can start looking at well-documented kids. But these are the conversations that we're willing to, you know, continue with Mr. Steve, because yes, he was there. He's seen how we undertaking our operations, because we were not there to disrupt. We are sure we wanted to make sure that there is law and order, and we were just merely making sure that the school receives our list of demands, making sure that when they do admissions in the next coming year, that it's children that are well documented and South Africans are going to be prioritized.
Okay, so you've been doing some of this work outside a few health facilities, and now you're shifting your focus to schools, and that's really going to be something that you do December going into January. But this has come up. We had a conversation on the channel with the economic freedom fighters earlier in Gauteng, and they have decided that they want to take these steps to have legal steps against Operation Dudula. And this is after what they believe is the impact of the blocking of people from health facilities, where they believe that it's cost a young life. What do you say to the comments of the EFF that say that what you are doing is going to have serious costs?
You know, I don't even want to respond to baseless allegations, because firstly, that's what I talked about earlier this afternoon, asking and pleading with, you know, our reporters that they need to report the, you know, actual news, the truth. When listening to an interview that was done by Zola in Alexander, when interviewing the mother of the late young man, the mother said 3 times and mentioned that the people that have blocked her were wearing green T-shirts. Now, Operation Dudula, we don't wear green T-shirts, we wear our white T-shirts. Now, looking at how the media had portrayed the whole thing, making it look as if that lady kept saying that Operation Dudula blocked her from accessing the healthcare, which, yes, we do block people from healthcare facilities. But with that one particular, we're going to have to wait for investigations to be concluded, because as they say that they have opened a criminal charges against myself and the organization, and we really cannot comment on that much. But we're just questioning how, our journalists are reporting such matters, and it should not be like that. It shouldn't be biased.
But what is your response to the EFF?
Now, the EFF should focus on their own programs and leave Operation Dudula to continue with theirs, because we've never seen them taking these cases when we had our own children that died of poisonous snake. We had more than 100 children that died of poisonous snake. They didn't take any action. When our kids are being raped by foreign nationals, there was a guy that has just been sentenced now that raped a young girl from Orlando, a Mozambican guy that pleaded guilty. We don't hear EFF saying anything about it. Why is it that the EFF will keep protecting, undocumented foreigners in our country over their own citizens? Here, we're just merely saying that we want citizens to be prioritized. Yes, we do have limited resources, and we always emphasize that life comes first. If it is an emergency, then we do allow people to go in. But if it's a normal checkup and you needed to, like, for instance, that mother had money to take the child to a private, healthcare facility. Why did she not just start there? She mentioned that she went to, I think, 2 public facilities and clinics and then a hospital. Then she decided that she's going to take the child to a private a doctor. Why was that not a priority? Because she knew that she's a foreigner, she's undocumented. She needed to just go straight to a private doctor in sparing the child's life. But that's a story for another day. We will wait to hear from the law enforcers on with regards to the case, and EFF must just stick to their lane and do what they normally do and leave Operation Dudula alone.
All right, Zandile Dabula there, who's the leader of Operation Dudula, saying the EFF must stick to what they do best, and they'll be watching to see the legal process as it unfolds.